no public participation by the county assembly, and that the county assembly of Murang'a had not followed the correct procedure in impeaching him. Delivering his ruling on the application made by the governor, the learned judge had the following to say, and I quote, "I take cognizance of the fact that the Senate is truly what I might call the impeachment court. The Senate is expected not only to investigate the nexus of the allegation to the first petitioner. The Senate must also interrogate the entire process as it takes through the county assembly. I have seen no law that restrains the Senate from returning a verdict that the process was not conducted as detailed under the Constitution or any other law." The learned judge, in making reference to the case of Martin Nyaga Wambora and 32 others versus County Assembly of Embu, Constitutional Petition number 7 and 8 of 2015 at Embu, consolidated, noted that with approval the position as restated in the Supreme Court of India in the State of Rajasthan versus Union of India, 1977, where the judge observed as follows: "The court has never abandoned its constitutional function as the final judge of constitutionality of all acts purported to be done under the authority of the Constitution. It has not refused to determine questions, either of fact or law, so long as it has found itself possessed of power to do so, to do it, and the cause of justice to be capable of being vindicated by its actions. But the court cannot assume unto itself powers the Constitution lodges elsewhere, or undertakes tasks instructed by the Constitution to other departments of state, which may be better equipped to perform them. These discharge duties of all guardians of the Constitution include the duty not to transgress the limitations of their own constitutionally circumscribed powers, but trespassing into what is properly domain of other constitutional organs." Now, honorable senators, it is therefore clear that the courts, save for justifiable instances, should not interfere with the ongoing process before Parliament, as clearly demonstrated by the aforementioned court decisions and the rulings, which decisions and rulings I fully agree with. In fact, this position was further demonstrated by the Honorable Judge in petition number E283 of 2023 Nairobi, filed by Senator Gloria Oroba, where the judge declined to grant the senator conservatory orders against the Senate Committee of Powers and Privileges. Aware that the Senate was discharging its constitutional mandate, the court refrained from interfering with the inquiry, and that was being undertaken by the Powers and Privileges Committee. Honorable Senators, on the issue as to whether, under the doctrine of separation of powers, the court has the power to review, vary, or set aside a decision on a matter determined conclusively by Parliament, again, this issue is not new. It has arisen before and has been addressed by speakers before of Parliament and the courts themselves. In a ruling by Honorable Kindiki that I've referred herein before, while addressing himself to the doctrine of separation of powers, the Honorable Deputy Speaker stated as follows: "In the spirit of concept of checks and balances, which in itself is an offshoot of the separation of powers doctrine, our constitutional design ensures that the judiciary is empowered to scrutinize legislation and other outputs of Parliament ipso facto to ensure that the Constitution and the law have been complied with. Thus, the unfettered but solemn privilege of Parliament to proceed unhindered by the judiciary and the executive is moderated by the reality that the executive can veto legislation, and the courts in law and the courts of law in exercise of the judicial authority under the Constitution retain a residual power to declare in justifiable instances any legislation or output of Parliament illegal, unlawful, or unconstitutional. In this ruling, the Honorable Speaker appreciated the fact that the judiciary may, in justifiable instances, review, set aside, or vary a final determination of Parliament. In the matter of the Speaker of the Senate and another versus Attorney General and 4 others, reference number 2 of 2013, already referred to herein above, the Supreme Court stated thus, and I quote, "Parliament must operate under the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. If Parliament violates the procedural requirements of the supreme law of the land, it is for the courts of law, not least the Supreme Court, to assert the authority and supremacy of the Constitution. It will be different if the procedure in question were not constitutionally mandated. This court will be averse to questioning parliamentary procedures that are formulated by the houses to regulate the internal workings, as long as the same do not breach the Constitution. By rendering this opinion, the court does not violate the doctrine of separation of powers. It is simply performing its solemn duty under the Constitution and the Supreme Court Acts. Another matter that clearly demonstrated that the decisions of Parliament are subject to review by the courts was the matter of James Opiyo Wandayi versus Kenya National Assembly and two others, that is Judicial Review Application number 258 of 2016. In this matter, on the 31st of March 2016, the Speaker of the National Assembly ordered Honorable Opiyo Wandayi to withdraw from the chambers pursuant to Standing Order 107 of the National Assembly, standing orders for gross disorderly conduct while attending a joint sitting of Parliament during the State of the Nation address by the head of state. The honorable member refused to comply with the Speaker's order, and the Speaker consequently invoked Standing Order 111 of the National Assembly standing orders and ordered that the honorable member be removed from the chamber by force. The National Assembly's then Standing Order 111 provided that the honorable member, once removed from the chamber by force, will thereupon, without question, be suspended from the service of the House for the remainder of the session. The sitting in question being in March 2016, it meant that the Honorable Opiyo Wandayi would have been suspended up to February 2017. Just like Senator Gloria Waroba, Honorable Wandayi subsequently filed a judicial review application in the High Court challenging his suspension and the service of the House for the remainder of the session. He obtained orders staying his suspension from service of the House pending hearing and determination of the judicial review application. Upon service of the said court order, the Speaker of the National Assembly complied with the same and allowed Honorable Wandayi to access National Assembly pending the hearing and determination of the judicial review application. This is exactly the same position the Senate finds itself today. Senator Gloria Waroba, having been suspended pursuant to a resolution of the Senate, moved to court by way of a judicial review and obtained conservative orders against that suspension. The upshot of these court decisions and rulings made by my predecessors is that the courts have constitutional power to review, vary, or set aside decisions of Parliament if such decisions are found to have violated the Constitution or any other written law. Honorable Senators, having considered this matter, after taking into account previous rulings of the Speakers of Parliament and court decision, it is my ruling that whereas the Senate is dissatisfied with the conservatory order obtained by Senator Gloria Waroba, the Senate shall comply with the said order while reserving its right to vigorously defend its position in court to demonstrate that indeed the Senate accorded the Honorable Senator due process and that the Senate did not breach the Constitution or any other law in arriving at decision to suspend the Honorable Senators. I so rule. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
The Chairman, Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following petition reports on the table of the Senate today, 17th October 2023. Report of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on a petition to the Senate by Mr. Kimtai Kirui and other residents of Uasin Gishu County concerning the alleged fraud by First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agents Limited. 2. Report of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on a petition to the Senate by Mr. David Binji Atela and others on unfair terms and conditions for universal health coverage, UHC staff, and delay in internship posting, conjoined with a petition on fair treatment of COVID health emergency response project staff beyond the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order 238, I wish to table the report of the Standing Committee of the Labor and Social Welfare on the petition by Mr. Mutahi Kirui and other residents of Uasin Gishu County concerning alleged fraud by First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency. The petitioners, Mr. Mutahi Kirui and Mr. Cleophas Arap Koech, representing an estimated 5,000 young people, were drawing the attention of the Senate to the matter regarding the agency. The petitioners indicated that First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency Limited, based in Eldoret, 1, obtained money from an estimated 5,000 youth to facilitate their placement for jobs and studies abroad during the period before the start of the 2022 World Cup. 2, the agency, however, failed to facilitate the said jobs and studies placement, leaving the youth and their families vulnerable and desperate, with the initial hopes of securing employment and study placement dwindling. 3, the agency had influenced the efforts of the affected youth to seek redress through the relevant agencies, such as the police and the county commissioner, hence making it difficult and unsuccessful. And 3, the victims continue to face profiling, threats, intimidation, mocking, and ridicule, with some facing arrest without due process or charges leveled against them. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee held a sitting with the management of First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency Limited. The committee also held meetings with the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, the Ministry of Health, the National Employment Authority, the Commissioner of Insurance, the Inspector General of Police, the Data Protection Commissioner, among others. The committee also met with readers who had been adversely mentioned in the petition, and they included the former governor and current senator of Uasin Gishu County, the Honorable Senator Jackson Madago MP, the former Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, and the current Cabinet Secretary for Cooperatives and Micro and Small Enterprise, the Honorable Simon Cherugoi, and renowned businessman, Mr. David Ragat, who is also based in Uasin Gishu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the general observations of the committee are, 1, that the petition brought out levels of desperation among the citizens, since majority of the victims of the agency were unemployed and underemployed youth aged between 25 and 35 years across Uasin Gishu County and its environs, who are desperately searching for improved livelihoods and had to sell property like land, motorbikes, and take loans in order to fund their travel abroad. 2, that the victims' dealings with the agency had resulted into even greater risk of loss of livelihoods, broken friendship and relationships, accrued debts, and ill health, including depression and suicide. 3, that the agency was able to convince the citizen by involving prominent business people, local leaders, and politicians. The committee has learned that the agency is now involving pastors and other religious leaders. 4, that there is laxity, implementation, and enforcement of the law by the relevant authorities, who include the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, who, despite being aware of the dealings of the agency, has not closed or pronounced itself publicly. The National Employment Authority, as a major regulator agency, has also been very silent on the matter. 5, there were reports of coercion of the security agencies with the agency, as victims reported of being intimidated and threatened by the police in Uasin Gishu. The Inspector General of Police, even after meeting the committee, has not made much progress and still reports that the matter is under investigation. The agency is still operating, even without having the requisite licenses and approvals. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee recommends that 1, First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency Limited to refund all the petitioners through the banker's checks only within 1 month of tabling of this report. 2, The Assets Recovery Agency repossesses the properties owned by First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency Limited, Mrs. Judy Chepchirchir, and Mrs. Faith Wariga Gishohi, in the event that they do not refund all the monies owed to the petitioners and use the funds to refund the petitioners. 3, the bank accounts of First Choice Recruitment Agency Limited, Mrs. Judy Chepchirchir, and Ms. Faith Wariga Gishohi be frozen by the relevant authorities until the monies owed to the victims are fully recovered. 5, that the passports of the directors of First Choice Recruitment and Consultants Agency Limited be held by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. Mrs. Judy Chepchirchir, Mrs. Faith Wariga Gishohi, and other directors of First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency Limited be barred from registering or operating or managing any other recruitment agency or company upon tabling of this report. The board of the National Employment Authority be disbanded and reconstituted upon tabling of this report. The Ministry of Labor and Social Protection and the National Employment Authority to issue a public notice in at least 2 local dailies with nationwide circulation directing First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency Limited to cease its recruitment operations with immediate effect. The Ministry of Labor and Social Protection to cease any further operations, recruitment, and placement by similar recruitment agencies that the public has raised concerns about upon the tabling of this report. That the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection and the National Employment Authority to strongly enforce the existing measures and ensure agencies adhere to the lay-down regulations. The Commission on Administrative Justice and Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission investigate the involvement of political leaders and business people and the conduct of state and public officers with regard to First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency Limited, and to report to the Senate within 3 months upon tabling of this report. That the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Office of the Inspector General finalize the investigations on the possible irregularities by First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency Limited, and institute criminal proceedings against First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency Limited and others if found culpable, and report to the Senate within 3 months of tabling of this report. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee wishes to acknowledge the time and considerable effort made by all parties who volunteered information before it. I also wish to express my gratitude to my colleagues for their input and contribution on this matter. Further, the committee is indebted to the offices of the Speaker and the Clerk of the Senate for facilitating all the actions that led to the production of this report. The committee also wishes to recognize the commitment and dedication of staff of the committee that made the work of this committee and the production of this report possible. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is now my present duty, pursuant to Standing Order 2238-2, to table the report of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on the petition by Mr. Kiptai Kirui and other residents of Uasin Gishu County concerning alleged fraud by First Choice Recruitment and Agency Limited.
Senator Lomenan.
I had to.
I'm told, Senator Mbugo, you have another report to lay?
Yes.
Okay, proceed before Senator Lomenan takes the floor.
Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order 238, I wish to table the report of Standing Committee of Labor and Social Welfare on the petition presented to the Senate on 22nd March 2023 by Senator Samson Cherargei MP, Senator for Nandi County, on behalf of the health sector unions, associations, and societies, and referred to the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare concerning unfair terms and conditions for the Universal Health Coverage UHC staff and delay in internship posting, conjoined with the petition on fair treatment of the COVID health emergency response project staff beyond the pandemic, is consolidated reporting to the two petitions. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee met with the petitioners and also different stakeholders, including the Ministry of Health, Council of Governors, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, the Public Service Commission, and the Kenya National Hospital. The petitioners were drawn from different cadres in the health sector, including the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, the Kenya National Union of Pharmaceutical Technologists, among others. The petitioners argue that the contract of the contractual health workers employed under the UHC program was to expire after 3 years in May 2023 and earn a consolidated salary lower than their counterparts, despite working in the same environment. Further, they are subject to other discriminatory terms like inadequate or non-existent risk allowance. The petitioners also raised issues concerning the delayed postings for internships, particularly for clinical officers since December 2022. While processing the above petition, the committee was seized of the petition on unfair treatment of the COVID Health Emergency Response Project health workers, signed by Senator Samson Cheregai MP on 13th July 2023. The petition draws the attention of the Senate to the fact that the Ministry of Health failed to renew the contract of the health workers employed to fight the COVID-19 pandemic across the country under the CHERP project. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee observed that there exist disparities in service between the UHC staff and other health workers. However, it also became clear that the policy interventions are in place and in operation with the possibility of inadequate resources likely to slow down their benefits. In terms of registration, the committee believes the ongoing operationalization of several health policies is a way to sustainable intervention for persistent recurring concerns related to health workers. The committee further believes that the operationalizing the National Internship Coordination Committee, as defined in the Policy for Health Sector Professional 2020 and the Internship Policy Guidelines 2022, will give clarity to the management of the health sector internship programs. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee recommends that 1, the Council of Governors to prioritize health workers under the UHC program and other health workers who have served before on contractual terms while recruiting health workers on permanent and pensionable terms within 6 months of tabling of this report. And 2, the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the multi-agency task force, prioritize and finalize the modalities of the UHC staff transition from contractual to permanent and pensionable within 6 months of tabling this report. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee wishes to acknowledge the time and considerable effort made by all parties who volunteered information before it. I wish to express my gratitude to my colleagues for their input and contributions on the matter. Further, the committee is indebted to the offices of the Speaker, the Clerk of the Senate for facilitating all the actions that led to the production of this report. The committee also wishes to recognize the commitment and dedication of the staff of the committee that made the work of the committee and the production of this report. It is now my present duty, pursuant to Standing Order 238-2, to table the report of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on the petition concerning the unfair terms and conditions by universal health coverage staff and delayed posting of interns and unfair treatment of the COVID Health Emergency Response Project. I do table.
Senator Lominan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I submit a petition to the Senate concerning the state of insecurity in Turkana County. I, the undersigned citizen of the Republic of Kenya and resident of Turkana County, do hereby authorize the Senator for Turkana County, Senator James Ekomwalo Menen, MP, to present this petition to the Senate on my behalf and on behalf of the residents of Turkana County. Mr. Speaker, I hereby draw the attention of the Senate to the following. One, that Turkana community has a long history of enduring inter-community raids, a challenge that has persisted for generations. The rise of terrorism and commercialized banditry can be traced back to the disarmament of the National Police Reservist, NPR, which left security vacuum and created an opportunity for certain individuals to exploit the situation. Two, that insecurity primarily occurs within Turkana County's internal borders, specifically within Samburu, Baringo, West Pokot counties. The perpetrators have capitalized on the security gap to engage in acts of terrorism, terror, and banditry for personal gain, such as selling stolen livestock to illicit markets. Three, that land boundary disputes, boundary expansion, cattle rustling, business, competition for livestock pasture and water, retaliatory raids, political incitement and facilitation of bandits, ethnic distrust, and hatred and disarmament of NPRs are the major factors contributing to the ongoing insecurity in Turkana County internal borders. That we have made the best efforts to have these matters addressed by the relevant authorities, all of which have failed to give a satisfactory response. Five, that none of these issues raised in this petition is pending in any court of law, constitutional, or any other legal body. Petition on this Senate concerning the Senate insecurity is in Turkana County, whereby your humble petitioner prays that the Senate urgently intervenes in this matter with a view to A, facilitate peaceful dialogue involving impartial mediators and traditional leaders and negotiations between communities involved in land disputes to find lasting solution. B, initiate land mapping and registration processes to clarify ownership and boundaries to help reduce ambiguity and prevent future conflicts. C, enhance law enforcement efforts against cattle rustling activities by increased patrols, intelligence gathering, and collaboration between security agencies. D, promote the use of modern technology, such as livestock tagging or branding, to facilitate identification and recovery of stolen livestock. E, educate communities on the negative consequences of cattle rustling, both in terms of lives lost and economic impact. F, develop sustainable resource management plans that ensure equitable access to pasture and water sources for all the communities. G, establish community-based conflict resolution and mediation committees to address grievances and conflicts promptly. H, consider rearming NPRs, selecting under strict supervision and accountability mechanism, ensure that they are adequately trained and controlled. And I, approve allocation of more resources to security agencies operating in Turkana County to improve their effectiveness in combating insecurity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
No, Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 238-1, I direct that the petition be committed to the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations. And in terms of Standing Order 238-2, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading this prayer, which is today, to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. Next order, clerk. Yes, Senator Fernandez, what is your intervention?
Chair, I was requesting that under your benevolence of Standing Order 1, to allow at least to react to my petition and the one or the first, because the youth that were affected, Mr. Speaker, sir, were mostly from Nandi, where I'm the senator. If you could allow me 3 minutes just to make a comment. Chair, from the onset, I want to say...
Senator Fernandez,
okay.
Who has given you permission to proceed?
Okay. From your smile, Mr. Speaker, and your grace, you look nice and mellowed that you are ready for my submissions.
Senator Fernandez, yes. I was almost obliged, but you have missed that opportunity. If you look at the statements in the order paper today, we have over 20, in fact, there are 23 statements. If we are going to allow any comments on the petition or these statements, we may not make any progress today. However, Senator Fernandez, I will allow you 2 minutes to speak on that petition.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank your office and the committee. I'm proud, Mr. Speaker of the Labour Committee, after the pain, the anguish, the bribery allegations, Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of you and the Senate for standing for justice, fairness, and truth for the many young people who are conned in within Uasin Gishu and Nandi County and across the country, who are over 5,000. Mr. Speaker, the onus now is on the DPP and EACC to ensure any political leader, the directors of first choice, any other people who are involved in conning our young people, Mr. Speaker, because this amounts to conning the future of this country, Mr. Speaker. I agree that they should be immediately prosecuted, Mr. Speaker. Their account should be frozen, and also immediate refund, Mr. Speaker, because we were tired with many demonstrations, Mr. Speaker, that was happening in Uasin Gishu, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Labour Committee to do follow-up. We are proud, Mr. Speaker, that, and finally, it has come as a blessing that National Employment Authority must be disbanded with immediate effect, Mr. Speaker, because they exposed many young Kenyans by allowing these fraudulent recruitment agencies to take Kenyans for a ride, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you on the behalf of the great people of Nandi and the North Rift young people, over 5,000 that were conned, Mr. Speaker. We have buried a number of them because they have died out of suicide. We have buried many parents because they have died out of suicide because they have been conned, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful, and may the good Lord continue to bless this wonderful house of the Senate. These recommendations must be immediately implemented. No matter how high or powerful you are, the DPP must prosecute all people that were involved, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
What is your point of order, Senator Kavindu?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Motion to adjourn to discuss a definite matter of urgency, national importance. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion.
Senator Folamu.
Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kavindu, just Senator Muma. There's a reason why the distance, there was a distance between those chairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Maintain the distance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for protecting me. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that pursuant to Standing Order 37, the Senate do now adjourn to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance, namely demolition of homes and properties in Mavoko, Machakos County. Hi, guys.
Honorable Senators, I'm satisfied that the threshold and required under Standing Order 37.5 has been made, and therefore I direct that this motion be moved at 5:30 p.m. Next order.
Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Statement pursuant to Standing Order 52.1, the Senator Fernande, Senator Chiranke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, statement on the issue of general topical concern on Kevin Kiptum shattering marathon world record in a superb performance at the Chicago Marathon. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52.1 to make a statement on the issue of general topical concern and national importance, namely Kevin Kiptum shattering marathon world record in a staggering and superb performance at Chicago Marathon on Sunday, 9th October 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, once again our athletes, sportsmen and women have brought glory to our country, this time through new prince of marathon, legendary maestro Kevin Kiptum, who has shattered the world marathon record that was set by his compatriot, King, the God Eliud Kipchoge of 2 hours, 1 minute and 09, that he set in 2022 at Berlin Marathon. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kevin Kiptum becomes the first human being to break the under 2 hours barrier in competitive running. After shattering the record by 34 seconds by finishing at 2 hours 00:35, this being his third marathon, Mr. Speaker, the 23-year-old had stormed the 2023 London Marathon, which is among the 5 premier marathons in the world, at 2 hours, 1 minute and 25 seconds, only 16 seconds shy of Kipchoge's record. Mr. Speaker, sir, this year's Chicago Marathon provided the perfect stage for him to break the world record, thus becoming the first time a world record is being set in Chicago since Moroccan Khalid Kanouchi exploit of 2 hours, 5 minutes and 42 seconds on October 24th, 1999. At the time, Benson Kipruto of Kenya came second in 2 hours, 4 minutes and 2 seconds, improving his personal best, which is set at the same course last year. This achievement, Mr. Speaker, sir, makes Kevin Kiptum the 6th Kenyan to hold world marathon record after Paul Tergat, Patrick Makau, Wilson Kipsang, Dennis Kimeter, and Eliud Kipchoge. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to urge both the majority and minority leaders to finish up setting of time for our world beaters in the sports world to visit, including Omanyala, Mora, Faith Kipyegon, among others, and sometimes address the Senate on their greatest achievements that go unnoticed. Mr. Speaker, sir, by doing this, our athletes who have continued to make us proud as a country at the international arena by flying our flag high, always feel appreciated and will be motivated to achieve even more. So, Speaker, sir, I continue to call upon the Ministry of Sports, Athletics Kenya, National Olympics Committee of Kenya, federations of sports in the country to continue to embrace openness and transparency during team selection for various teams representing Kenya in various competitions across the world. And you saw the Harambee Starlets and Harambee Stars did well yesterday across the world and shun the alleged corrupt practices taking place during team and official selection. Payment of allowance, Mr. Speaker, kits distribution, as well as addressing sportsmen and women welfare. I wish also to call upon the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, ADAC, to enhance its vigilance and eradicate rogue agents and coaches who spoil our sportsmen and women careers and the good name of our sports by making them to engage in doping unknowingly. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, I wish to congratulate our sportsmen and women for the superb performance in Chicago. Others, like the Angola, where starlets participated, Mr. Speaker, Arambe Stars, among other disciplines, Mr. Speaker. And I wish also to applaud the rising starlets, although when they arrived, Mr. Speaker, it's judicial notice that no senior ministry official was there except the former governor of Nairobi, for beating Angola 6-1 at Nyayo Stadium, and wish them well, assuring of our commitment as a house and support in championing for their welfare at all times as they continue to represent our country and keep it in sporting map. And I say bravo to our sportsmen and women. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Crystal Asige. That statement is dropped. Statement pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. Senator Muma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations regarding measures put in place to address insecurity in Turkana County, including cross-border conflicts. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state measures put in place by the national and Turkana County governments to address insecurity issues arising from cross-border conflicts in the county, particularly between local community and Mursi tribe of Ethiopia, Karamojong tribe of Uganda, and the Toposa tribe of South Sudan, which have had an adverse impact on the development of the country. Number 2, to provide an update on the progress of implementation of the framework of agreement for allocation of 9,000 hectares of land for military use between the Turkana County government and the Ministry of Defense that will deter criminal activities within Turkana. And 3, explain the rationale behind the government decision to deploy police officers to Haiti while there are inadequate security personnel in Turkana County to effectively deal with the security challenges. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Minor, Veronica.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I have 2 statements, Mr. Speaker, and the first one, Mr. Speaker, is on allegation of politically instigated harassment of employees in the counties. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding allegations of politically instigated harassment of employees in the counties. In the statement, the committee should clarify whether the allegations of politically instigated harassment of employees after inauguration of county governments are true, and if so, outline actions taken to address the issue, provide an overview of legal protection and safeguards in place to ensure the employees of county governments are not subjected to harassment or discrimination based on perceived political affiliations, and outline any measures put in place to institutionalize professionalism within the public service at the county level of government to shield them from political influence and guarantee continuity in service provision. And 4, provide per county schedules of staffing levels in each cadre in respective county assemblies and county executives as at August 2022 and September 2023, explaining the reasons for any recruitments done and attritions between the 2 periods. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. My next statement is on promotion of African attire. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding the promotion of African attire In the statement, the committee should explain any initiatives by the government aimed at encouraging regular wear of African attire in government offices on Thursdays and Fridays in alignment with the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya campaign that celebrates Kenyan culture and supports local businesses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Wafula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. I seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding the status of recent recruitment of senior management officers at Kenya National Highway Authority. In the statement, the committee should, 1, present a comprehensive audit report outlining the procedures employed in the recruitment of 11 senior management officers at KENHA during the interview process that concluded on September 25, 2023, resulting in the hiring of 2 directors of grade 2 and 9 deputy directors of grade 3. 2, explain why no applicant has been recruited to fill the position of Deputy Director of Research and Innovation at KENHA, despite the position having been advertised alongside others whose recruitment has been concluded, giving the status of qualified candidates who had applied for the position and went through an interview.